Hello everyone, Resin86 here, bringing you a review. Yes, I have decided to start doing reviews, and I have also decided that what better tank than one of the favorites of the game, the Tier 8 tank destroyer, the Soviet tank destroyer, the ISU-152. Now, this is one of the best tank destroyers in the game. It is one of the most fun tank destroyers in the game, and there is one reason for that, and that is this thing right here that is moving, the gun, the 152mm BL-10 gun. Now, a little bit of a rundown of how we're going to be doing this. First, we're going to be looking at the hard stats. We're also going to be looking at the soft stats like gun depression, gun elevation, camo rating, and all that good stuff on a very, very good new program that has come out recently, the Tank Inspector. Of course, also we're going to be looking at the modules. We're going to be looking a little bit at equipment and maybe a little bit at loadout. And afterwards, I will show you a replay, a game. Now, for those of you who don't want to listen to the ranting of the hit points and the armor and the gun depression and the gun and everything, an annotation will be popping up right about now so that you can skip straight to the gameplay. Okay, they're gone. Awesome. Let's get down to business. Now, let's start off with the hard stats. Let's take a look a little bit at the hit points. The hit points are 1,000 hit points. That is okay for a Tier 8 tank destroyer. It's a little bit on the low end, however, it is enough. Now, the armor, 90 degrees at the front, 90 degrees at the side, 60 degrees at the rear. However, this may be a little misleading. We will be taking a look at Tank Inspector for that. Now, the weight of this tank destroyer is around about 50 tons. For me, with my equipment loadout, it's 50.4 tons, and with the 700 horsepower engine that it has a very, very good power to weight ratio for a tank destroyer, for even more so a Tier 8 tank destroyer, as most of these are very, very slow and big lumbering, big gunned tank destroyers. Now, however, this is good when it is in a straight line, because the traverse speed, this 21-degree traverse speed, is not good. It is definitely not good. If you get surrounded, if you get flanked by a medium tank or a light tank, or even in some cases a heavy tank, you will probably not be able to traverse fast enough to avoid getting shot at the sides and at the rear. This thing does turn very, very slowly. And with the armor that it has, you will probably get penetrated by any shell that is fired at you, and even in some cases HE shells that are fired at you. Now, the view range, 370 meters. It's a tank destroyer, doesn't really need that much of a view range if you have scouts and other tanks at the front line spotting for you. The signal range, however, is a little bit on the low side, if I'm not mistaken, 625 meters, but it is good enough for all the maps, and you will be able to get info on where the enemy tanks are, and depending on render range, you will be able to shoot them if you are in a prime position. Now, a little bit of the equipment. I have gone with the improved ventilation class 3, the gun rammer, and a camo net. It is arguable that with the aiming time that this tank has, which is a very, very Soviet aim time of 3.4 seconds, you can use a gun laying drive, but at least in my experience, a camo net has worked well. I have not been spotted that often, and at the distance I'm at, even with the small gun arc that it has, the aim time is still enough, and the reload is still long enough to be able to let that reticle close and be able to fire at least semi-accurately, because of the accuracy of the gun, semi-accurately at whatever tank is in front of you. Now, with that out of the way, let's take a look at the tank inspector, and let's take a look at the armor and the soft stats. So, here we are on tank inspector. Now, as you can remember, we just talked about a little while ago, 90 millimeters at the front, 90 millimeters at the side, and 60 millimeters at the rear. Now, while that is true, for the most part, there are a few exceptions. Let's take a look at the collision mode. Now, 90 millimeters at the front, that is true, as you can see right there on the right side, the tab that basically informs you about the armor thickness. The sloping is not all that great. It is round about 30 degrees, sorry, if I'm not mistaken. And the equivalent armor value, the equivalent armor thickness, is around 100 to maybe 105 millimeters of armor if you shoot at it straight on. The good thing-ish is that the lower glacis also is 90 millimeters thick. However, at 90 millimeters, at a tier 8, that is not exactly the best thing in the world. Now, 60 millimeters at the rear, that is true. 60 millimeters on the superstructure, 60 millimeters on the hull. Despite this angling of 50 degrees roundabout, if you are moving and you do get shot at the side and you move fast enough, you will be able to ricochet off this backside. However, if you are shot straight on from behind, not even these 50 millimeters with the most possible armor thickness of round about 90 millimeters, you will probably not be able to bounce many shots, and you will get hit. You will get hit in the engine. Now, here's where it's a little bit different. This section right here, 90 millimeters. As you can recall, the game tells us it is 90 millimeters at the side. However, that's just talking about behind the tracks, this lower part, the hull part of the tank. That is 90 millimeters. And if you add the tracks, it adds up to be an equivalent of about 130 to 140 millimeters of armor with the 20 millimeters of spaced armor. Now, the problem is that you will not probably be getting shot that much in the tracks. You will probably be getting shot at your superstructure from the side. And that is not 90 millimeters, that is only 75. Now, this does have a small slope, very, very small slope, so you cannot rely on bouncing shots from the side of this tank. It is a very, very flat angle. And most tanks, after you're tracked, if they decide to track you, you will get shot at this superstructure. You will probably take damage. It is almost impossible that any shell, tier 6 and above, will bounce on your lateral superstructure. Now, it's not all bad news. There is good news. The gun mantlet. The gun mantlet is 100 millimeters of spaced armor, and there even is a small bulge right here on the gun mantlet that adds up to be another 100 millimeters at least, and an equivalent from 100 to 300 millimeters of spaced armor. And on top of that, behind the gun mantlet, you have this little bulge right from the superstructure that is 60 millimeters in thickness. Now, since it bulges so much from the superstructure, when you're retreating, if you decide to turn your tank, which is what you should be doing when you are retreating, you will be able to use your gun mantlet, and your gun for that matter, to bounce a lot of shells. This does happen, people. this mantlet can bounce a lot of shells. Now, if you look at it this way, 186, 200 millimeters, and even more of equivalent armor thickness. If you shoot at this tank, if you try to shoot its superstructure and it is to the side, if it hits that gun mantlet, it will bounce. And that is good news for all us ISU-152 drivers, because you can use this gun mantlet to make your enemy bounce on it, and therefore be able to take less damage when retreating after you have fired your shot. Now, while we're here on Tank Inspector, let's take a look at the soft stats, at least the more important soft stats, the things that the game doesn't tell you that are very important to all of you tankers for when you are driving your tank. For example, let's take a look at maneuverability. The elevation of the gun is 18 degrees. That is very, very good. That is very good for a tank destroyer. But the gun depression is lacking a lot at only 6 degrees. If you need to shoot down at a tank, for example, if you're on a hill, you're on Himmelsdorf, and you want to shoot at something that's in the courtyard, you will need to expose a lot of your tank to be able to get that shot, because the gun depression is that bad. Now, the gun horizontal traverse is also relatively bad. 16 degrees from side to side. 8 degrees to one, 8 degrees to the other. Now, despite this horizontal gun traverse, this low horizontal traverse, and despite the aim time of the gun itself, if you're far back enough and you can guess accurately where the enemy tanks are going to go, you have enough time to position yourself well enough to be able to aim and to be able to fire at that target. If you are far back enough, the aim time isn't going to be that much of a problem when you're reloading, because if you decide to move just a little bit, it will reset. The reticle will reset. However, with a 14-second reload, 3.4 seconds is not that much of a problem. Now, as we talked about a little bit earlier, the power to weight ratio is 14.09. That is very good for a tank destroyer, actually. With this 700 horsepower engine and the 50-ish tons, depending on your load out, the 50 tons that it weighs, 14 horsepower per ton is very, very good. It will let you accelerate very quickly and reach that 43 kilometer per hour top speed. Now, finally, let's take a look at camo values. Now, while stationary, obviously, you want to be stationary in this tank, there is a 15.4% reduction to the view range of any tank that is trying to spot you. That is while you're out in the open. This does not count hiding behind bushes. This does not count the camo skill that your crew might have, and does not count camo nets. At 15.4% reduction, that is relatively very good. Obviously, while moving and while firing, it will reduce. It will become smaller, the percentage of reduction, and that is why you usually want to be behind a bush. In my case with a camo net, maybe not in yours, but in my case with a camo net, and be able to stay camoed, be able to stay stealthed and out of the enemy's radar for longer. And that allows you to get more shots out, and that allows you to remain still and be able to aim at whatever target you wish. So, back to the game, finally. Let's take a look at why this tank is so good, because The only positive thing that is going for it so far from what I've been telling you is the power to weight ratio. It's 14 horsepower per ton ratio, which is very good, with its speed limit, which is very good, but everything else sounds kind of abysmal for a tier 8 tank. But here is why everybody loves this tank. The 152mm BL-10 gun. This thing is a beast of a gun with 286 millimeters of penetration, average penetration, and 750 average damage. This thing is a beast. Now, obviously, it's a Russian gun. The rate of fire is going to be slow, 3.4. The accuracy is going to be bad, and the aim time is going to be worse. But when you fire this gun, and when you see the damage that it can inflict on your enemies, it will make you smile. It will make you laugh. It will brighten up your day. But don't take my word for it. Let's see it happen. Okay guys, let's start with this replay here. I am platooned with a friend of mine from our KRAKEN clan, Bob Dax, and in this replay, let's speed it up a little and get to the action. I want to show you a little bit of the raw damage that it can output, as well as some bouncing techniques. Now, as we can see here, T-29 comes up, and he is starting to push a little, which is not very smart of him. There it is, 792 damage, and you saw that bounce right there. Let's take a look. Right off the gun mantlet. You can see it right there, that small little speck of white on the gun mantlet. Alright, let's keep going. Now, this is not the most opportune shot that you want to take. This is not the shot that you really want to take 13 hit points. But it's something, it's a kill, it's a gun that's off the field. Now, there's something you need to be very careful with when you're driving almost any tank, actually. It's that when you go into sniper mode, what you see, what you're looking through is through your gun. That means that there are parts of your tank that can be exposed on top. Like, for example, the commander's cupola, which obviously is not really here on this tank. But however, if you see the gun, where the gun is, it's definitely lower than the top of the tank. So that means that you can get shot right where I got shot by that. I want to say that was the IS-6. You can get shot there while you're looking through sniper mode and thinking that they do not have a shot at you. But I digress. Let's keep going. Bob has decided to push up a little, seeing as there is nobody left on these tracks. Let's go back to fixed camera. And all we can see, all we know that's there, is this IS-6 and a T-44, which somehow hit me for 434. Obviously, the IS-6 is aiming this way. I do not want to go out and get shot in the side, especially at 264 hit points. However, he does take a shot at Bob. That means I can push up. Now, the T-44 appears. Bob notices a little bit too late, but he does manage to get a shot into him, or not. No, that was not Bob. Somebody else managed to get a shot into him, and the T-44 backs off. Now, this may not be the smartest move in the world. You do not usually want to be aggressive, but I now kind of have no choice. The IS-6 is right behind me. He did manage to take Bob out. So now I'm forced to move up to try to fight this T-44 while I am in cover. this is definitely not the best spot for a tank destroyer. However, if your enemy decides to make the mistake and get in front of your gun, you just take the shot. As you can see, the IS-6 is coming closer. The T-44 decides that he wants to take a shot, but with this gun, 579 hit points is less than the average. Now, pay attention here. This is where the magic happens. Look at me duking, and he hits my gun mantlet just under the gun right there. It is because of that duking, that moving, that he managed to only be able to shoot my gun mantlet. And therefore, that gave me a shot at him and I was able to kill him. Now, this battle is basically wrapped up. I'm trying to run away from this ISU, however, he does aim and he does take a shot at me, and unfortunately he does manage to take me out. However, the game is already going to be wrapping up, and it was a win. Now, on to the second replay. This is an 8.9 replay, and also the one where I get my Ace Mastery Badge in the ISU-152. I'm platooned up with Engine 95 over there in his engine panzer, as well as Quip, who is up in his ISU, spawning at the other side towards the cap. Now, this is Severogorsk. This is not good matchmaking for any tank, although for the ISU it's not really that much of a problem, because thanks to the gun, it can tear through tier 8s, 9s, or 10s at its leisure, mostly. So I decide to go up with Quip to the A6, A7 region. It's a really high hill that has great vision on the eastern hill. And now here you can see the ISU's, you could call it a handicap a little, where he has to go up hills. As you can see, my speed does not really go past 10 kilometers per hour going up, despite its top speed is 43 kilometers per hour. Finally, we get up to the top of the hill, but unfortunately, there's nothing really to shoot at yet. Keep turning the tank, trying to zero in on any kind of tank, anything that I could fire on. Can't fire on the M103, can't fire on the T110E5, can't fire on the T95, he's way too far. Quip takes a shot at something, I'm not completely sure what it is, but from here, as you can see, we have very good shots on the eastern hill, telling this M60 to back up, because we want them to go around that bend so that we are able to shoot them, we're able to damage them. And the fire from two ISU-152s is pretty respectable. As you can see right there, 738 damage on a mouse, on the side of a mouse. That is a tier 10 tank with arguably some of the highest armor in the game. And we just go through it like butter. You can see there, second shot. Quip also takes a shot. And now we've reduced in 3 shots that mouse from 3,000 health to just 700. You can hear the loading of the crew inside. That's thanks to Gnomefather's historical gun sounds. We get a shot at the T-34. We aim it, but it just goes a little bit down and to the right, and it hits the ground just in front of him. Unfortunately, we have no more shots on anything else. Quip decides to go down in an attempt to get better shots, but now I'm loaded, and bye-bye T-34. Engine gets taken out by an AC-48 that was on the other side of the map around the F3 region, and now we have a shot at a T110E5. That was a high roll. That was a very high roll. And onto a tier 10 tank, which has really good armor, and that usually when you're in a tier 8 tank, you dread facing. But not in this case. As you can see, we can take him out rather easily in the ISU-152. This tank is just awesome. The punch that the gun has makes up for almost all its weaknesses, and if you know how to play it to its strengths, which is basically the gun, you can tear apart any tank you wish. Any tank whatsoever. So now we're just waiting for more targets. Nothing's popping up. Nothing that we can hit, at least. We start aiming for that IS-8. Unfortunately, no dice, no shot whatsoever. The eastern hill is now almost clear. The mouse is the only one that's left on that side. Everything else has been spotted except for the arties. The mouse is backing up, so we line up a shot to hit his back. Because as you can tell there, you can see the dead light tank over there. I believe that's a 1375 or 1390. If you look there, there's that small sliver. I fire, but he just pulls back in. But he does get taken out by the Yak Tiger, so we got that going for us, which is nice. AC-48 is going up against the VK-45028, but the IS-3 also decides to join the fight. Now, I hardly think that's fair, so decide to take out the IS-3. A T-30 shows up as well. And now while I'm reloading, I move around a little just in case I was spotted. Thankfully I wasn't. And I start aiming at this T-30. He vanishes into the fog of war somehow, but we take a shot. Don't know if we hit him, but we did get spotted this time. So now we back up, we move around. One of those arties is a really, really good arty player. Therefore, we have to move. We never know when he's going to be aiming at us. AC-48 and IS-8, well, at least the 48 gets taken out. The IS-8 keeps moving on to try to face the E-75, but now we get a shot at him. And we take him out as well. All that's left is the T-30 I shot before, the T-95 that's right in front of us, and the two arties. The enemy artillery managed to get a really good shot on the E-75, but our artillery retaliates by taking out the T-95. Now, all that's left is a T-30. We don't know where he is. Last spot was D2. Now, everybody else, except for the T-92 on our side, has decided to go up in search of the arty. Now, there are two options. The T-30 could have gone back, or he could have pushed forward towards the cap. So, since everybody else is pushing forward, I decide to stay back, trying to look at where he was last spotted, and see if we can defend the arty, defend the base, and maybe even take him out. GW Tiger keeps pinging that area. We know that's where he was last seen. And now all we have to do is wait. Everybody else has gone forward. I pull up a little bit more. GW Tiger on the enemy team has been spotted and gets rapidly taken out by the Jagdpanzer E-100, and now we're spotted. That means it's either the T-92 or the T-30. And there he gets spotted, the T-30. Now, don't do this at home, kids. I go down the ledge, I take aim, I fire, 35 hit points! So, obviously, I go for the ram. And I get it. Cost me like 4/5 of my health, but who cares? Got the kill. Killed the tiger. Killed the tiger. Killed the T-30. And now it's just a matter of finding the T-92. This game is practically over. I tried to get up there to see if I can get my top gun. I am at 5 kills by now. The ISU is unfortunately rather slow. So basically the T-92 gets taken out after a while, and that's game with almost over 5,000 damage. Now, onto the score screens. As I said before, this was my Ace Mastery badge for the ISU-152. We managed to get 61,000 credits and 2,000, almost 2,100 XP, non-double. And thanks to the RAM on the T-30, we managed to get a kamikaze medal as well. We shot 11 times, 9 of those hit, which is actually pretty good for the accuracy of the gun, the 0.41 accuracy. Usually, there's a reason why they call it the troll gun, because it trolls people a lot. Fortunately, in this match, we did not have that bad RNG. We did manage to hit 9 of the 11 shots, and all 9 penetrated, for a total damage of 5,769. We took only one hit from the T-30 there at the end. It did penetrate, obviously 90 millimeters at the front, it's going to penetrate, for a potential damage of 400 received. Thankfully, the T-30 did not have the 155 millimeter gun. We managed to damage 6 of the enemies, we managed to kill 5 of them, and that's for top damage in a tier 10 match in the ISU. Oh, what can be said about the ISU-152? Well, the HP is crap, the armor is crap, the armor is deceitful in its crappiness by allegedly having 90 millimeters of armor at the sides, when in reality it has 75 on the superstructure. So basically the armor is crap, the gun depression is crap, the camo rating is decent, the power to weight ratio is good, but essentially everything appears to be crap. So why do we like it? Why do I like it? Why is that even a question? It's got the BL-10 gun, damn it! That thing is a beast of a gun. That thing is the reason, the only reason people actually go through and get the ISU-152. It's that gun. It's the troll gun, the 152 millimeter BL-10 gun with 286 millimeters of penetration and 750 average damage. Who the hell cares about the rate of fire, the accuracy, or the aim time, which are crap, but 286 with 750 average damage. That is why people get the ISU. That is why people love the ISU, despite the trolling that the accuracy of the gun gives you. That's why people love the ISU, and that's why I love the ISU. The gun. It all adds up to the gun. The crappiness just fades away into the fog of war as soon as you look at the gun. Now, before you get the BL-10 gun, that thing is a piece of crap. It just is. It's a piece of crap. And I'm being nice here. Because the only good thing, not the only good thing, but one of the best things, the best thing about this tank is that gun. And as soon as you unlock the BL-10 gun, you are in for a world of happiness by making everybody else's world a world of pain. I think you can guess what the verdict is. I mean, despite all the crappiness that comes with it, despite all the crappiness of the HP and the crappiness of the traverse speed and the crappiness of the gun depression, despite all that crappiness, the BL-10 just makes it work. Just makes it work. Because of that gun, it is a beast of a tank, and I would recommend it to anyone and everyone in this game. Everybody needs to at least have played the ISU-152. And in the future, you're going to thank me for that. Alright guys, if you liked what you heard, you liked what you saw, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. If you agree with me or you disagree with me, please leave a comment. We'll debate, we'll discuss. If you have any particular tank you would like me to review, please put that in the comments below as well. And stay tuned because there will be more to come.